Good morning, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? As I look at the comex games, as gold goes from 33.23 at 9:45, and the derivative takes us down the short down to 32.90, and it's coming back to now. This is all just a game. This is so if I want to buy gold on an option, I'd rather buy it at 32.90 than 33.23. So it shorts down to 32.90, and then I buy it. And this is the game played. So when these people talk about, geez, I don't know why gold is, all the trouble with gold with the economy, and gold doesn't. Why isn't gold going up? Well, it's obvious why gold isn't going up. Gold isn't going up because um, gold isn't going up because they're playing games with it, because it's comex pricing it. It's not the market. See, this is not people selling gold, knocking the price down $30. That's the problem. Everybody is sold into the market for the groceries and a lot of other things that we see is, as we can see, is free market. You go get tires for your car, you go get glasses, you get clothes. I went up north last week to buy some shirts. That's free market. They put it on sale. I either say yes or no, and each company has different prices. As I said, Polo versus Brooks Brothers versus Tommy Hilfiger versus Nautica. They all have different quality, different prices, and you choose. But that's not what gold and silver are. Gold and silver are not priced like that. They are not, okay, I'm going to put the gold out and somebody buys it. And if more people buy it, the price goes up. If nobody wants it, the price goes down. This is all comex. This is all bullshit. So play accordingly. Understand that nobody's sold gold. The demand for gold's huge. It's only going stronger and stronger. I'll show you where China's just, well, all of BRICS is buying gold, but then I'll just show you China. As China dumps the treasuries, and they keep dumping, and Japan dumped treasuries, as I showed you, they're buying gold with it. They're choosing. They're sitting there in a market going, well, what do I want to be in? Do I want to be in worthless doo-doo paper, or do I want to be in an asset that actually is going to make money? Well, what would you do? What asset would you choose to be in? We do it in football and baseball every time we bet. We go, do we want to bet on Mahomes, or do we want to bet on Caleb? That's basically, well, how am I going to make money? Well, I better bet on Mahomes. And that's what you're doing. You've saved your money, or however you've gotten your money, and you want to invest it because you paid your bills, so you have excess money. So you either leave it sitting in a bank earning nothing, or you invest it. You can buy stocks, bonds. You can buy gold and silver. You can buy Picassos. You can buy real estate trust, put it in an annuity, or buy diamonds or something. So you can do all this. And that's the point of it. You're free to choose what to do with your money. But if you just leave it in the bank or buy it in stocks or put it in Bitcoin, you got to be careful because they're not real. And so you don't want to lose your money. You want to, most people invest. They don't know what they're doing. They buy stocks that they don't know why they're doing it. They're in Bitcoin because it's worth a lot without knowing where's it going. Very, very controlled. And so where's the best place to put your money? And then your financial planner will never say gold and silver. So that's the whole key to this, is you're figuring it out. But what they're doing is they're pushing it down with this comex crap. And it's not true. That's not the real price of physical gold. That's paper gold. But they don't use paper. This isn't paper Canadian Club. So if I go to the grocery store and this is $100 because it's a 12-year-old from 1997. So it's a 40-year-old now. Well, you're buying the physical. You buy, you get the bottle. That's what you do. But in gold, the price is options. It's paper. It's not even this. It's just they're doing options, raising. It's trading places with Eddie Murphy, where he's fucking around with the orange juice. I mean, nobody's selling orange juice. It's just the traders trading it. It's all bullshit. It's all a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme. They're just selling it arbitrarily, or they're just, oh, we'll buy it at 142, or we'll sell it at 142. We'll buy it at 29. Well, that's not. Well, neither of them are the real price. It started at a dollar, at $102. What's the price of the orange juice? Nobody knows. Was the 142 the price? Was the 29 the price? No, because it's not free market, and that's the key to the free market. You have to understand that. All right, so let's go to baseball. So that's okay. So we'll go to baseball. Yesterday, pretty bad day. But that happens. It's the same theory, so sometimes it just doesn't work. So our first Detroit beats Tampa 5-1. Montero against Boz. Had I saw the pitchers before, there was no pitchers, so we couldn't play the game. I would have probably went over. Miami beats Cincinnati 5-1. Just when you think Miami's terrible, they win. Boston 9, Colorado 3. Milwaukee 9, the Dodgers 1. I had Milwaukee, but I didn't bet it. Again, Yokozuno, the 2.77 ERA gives up 9 runs. KC 9, Pitt 3. I did have Pitt. We played KC under 9, so that lost. Toronto 8-4. We did play Toronto. They're on a 10-game winning streak, so we played them. They won. Cleveland 7, Houston 5. Now, Cleveland was on a 10-game or 9-game losing streak, finally gets the win. And you see they finally scored 7 runs. So how bad is this Houston pitcher? California, Texas 6-5. I had Texas under 7.5. Got destroyed there. In their last game, Arizona 6-3 over San Diego. Hugh Darvish gives up 6 runs. In our last game, the Niners 3, Philly 1. We lost that. So we had a terrible day. 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 1-3, and a -3, 5, 7, -5 in what do we call it? Units. So it's the worst day I've had in probably a month, but it happens. Sunday was really weird because we should have done a lot better with the pitchers, should have gone under. There's something that I tell you about Sunday. All right, today, July 8th. All right, nothing until tonight. We start off with we're going to look, I'm going to look at streaks first. And then we're going to check on them. All right. So team streaks. Toronto's won 9 in a row. So let's put that. Toronto, I had at 6, is now 9. 9 wins in a row. So we're going to bet Toronto no matter what. Boston's won 4 in a row. We'll wait a little bit. Detroit's won 4 in a row. And that's it. Cleveland was losing, but not now. Let's see. The National League, Atlanta's lost 4 in a row. Pittsburgh's lost 4 in a row. The Dodgers have lost 4 in a row. So nothing. Frisco's won 3 in a row. So you can see Frisco couldn't win a game, and now they've won 3 in a row. A lot of it is the matchups and who they're playing. So really the only trend we have is Toronto. Even Cleveland unders they scored a lot of runs yesterday against Houston. So right now the only focus is going to be on Toronto to win, and let's jump to them. Toronto's at the White Sox. Chris Bassett, 8 and 4 to 4.32. Aaron Chevalier. So we're going to go. Our first bet's going to be Toronto, and we're going to go 2 units. So they've won 9 in a row. We're simply betting the streak. We can only lose once, right? If they lose, we're off of them. If they win, then we keep betting them. All right. So let's go to Mets in Baltimore. That's how simple it is to bet the streaks. You look for that. The Mets in Baltimore, the Mets minus 135 and 10. Clay Holmes, 8 and 4 to 299. Brandon Young, 0 and 3 with the 702. We're going to take the METS, Mets, and we're going to go 3 units. They did well against the Yankees. They did lose to Fried on Sunday, but they played them pretty well. Here you got Young, 0 and 3 with the 702. Tampa and Detroit. Detroit minus 130 and 8. Ryan Peapot, 6 and 3 with the 334 against Joe Flaherty, 5 and 9 with the 484. I don't know why Flaherty's favored. Let's look at Ryan Peapot. He's got a 3.34 ERA. We went to Butler, a Butler guy. 2 runs. Baltimore gave up 4 runs in 1 inning, and then 1 inning, 3-2, couple of shutouts, couple of 3s. So he's all over the place. Again, 5-6 innings. Detroit should hit him. Let's go over in this game. Detroit over 8. And we'll go 2 units. Detroit's the most inconsistent team. I keep hearing how good the manager is. I don't know what they're watching. It's a terrible manager. It's like Dan Campbell of the Lions. Everybody thinks he's so good because the team's good. He's a terrible game coach. Is he a motivator? Is he a psych guy? Maybe. Maybe he's got them playing really over their heads, so their noses will bleed for a week to 10 days. But when it comes to strategy, I find he's terrible, Dan Campbell, and I find that the Tiger coach is also terrible managing the game. He too much dicks around with his pitchers. He dicks around with the player. Playing the players everywhere is not good. As a player, you don't want to play 16 positions. I want to play shortstop. That's where I'm going to play. I don't want to play second base, third base, left field. I played third base once in a softball game for my friend. He was like the shortstop. He says, we need a third baseman. Can you play it? And I did. And, I caught a line drive hit to me. Everybody was all excited. And I'm like, well, it's no big deal. It's just a line drive. And I caught it. But the angle is very difficult. You have to get used to the angle. You have to get used to the throw. You're now trying to throw from short to first is one angle. From third to first is a different angle. You got the pitcher to worry about. So these are very, very much different. So to move your players around, look at Happy Baez. He's the all-star center fielder. Are you kidding me? How bad is the league if this idiot's the starting center fielder? He's a shortstop, and he's not very good at that. He's not even the starting shortstop on the team. He plays third. He plays second. The manager is clueless. You don't do that. You don't move your players all around unless they all suck, which apparently they do. The batting order is terrible. He moves everybody around, um, all over the place. It's like he's never managed before. He doesn't get the concepts of managing. It's consistency. And okay, they have a good record. Well, they're stealing signs, and okay, Scooble, he doesn't even manage him right. Scooble should be completing the game because he's already pitched 7 innings. I mean, you're not going to tire him out pitching the 8th and 9th, and the other team really is not hitting him. He's shutting them out. Look what he did against Cleveland. He's done this 3 or 4 times where Scooble's on the mound throwing a shutout, and he pulls him in like the 7th inning. Why? I have no idea. And then the reliever comes in, and the other team's so happy they go and hit, and Cleveland scored a run. They hadn't scored a run in 3 days. They get Scooble out, and they immediately score a run. And the Tigers got lucky to win from a wild pitch. But this is the problem. You've got guys that really are so far out of position. The batting order's really crazy. This lefty righty stuff is just a joke. It doesn't work. It never works. If it did, then they'd win every game because they just keep batting righties against lefties or lefties against righties. But it doesn't work. Their bullpen's terrible. He doesn't have a closer. He doesn't know what he's doing. So again, this is the problem. So everybody looks at the record going, look how good they are. But yeah, they're the worst 58 win team this far. They're the worst, first place team I've ever seen. They don't know. They're just an average team. They're not really that good. But the league is so bad. I mean, how many teams have I looked at where they got 3-4 hitters that are hitting under 210? So this is a very poor league, and the Tigers have a bunch of slap hitters who, it's like a girls softball team and they slap it, where these guys are hitting, 260, 270. Detroit has 6 hitters hitting over 255. And it's just, you scratch your head because, the problem is though, when it's the pressure's on, they don't hit at all. Right. So, example was this Torkelson guy hits all these home runs, solo homers. Then he got up with the bases loaded the other day and he grounded into a double play. He needed the hit, but he can't get hits. He hits 220. So he doesn't get hits. He either hits solo homers, but he hits homers when there's nobody on. Doesn't produce RBIs. That's why it's a key stat, not OPS, which is stupid. That's the problem with OPS. You're not looking at how productive they are to drive in runs. You're looking at his hits, how productive his hits are that are extra base hits. So when he gets a hit, it's an extra base hit. Yeah, but if he only gets a hit every 20 times up, it's probably not really productive, especially when you get the bases loaded and you need a hit. You're probably not helping out anything, right? You need the hit with the bases loaded, and he grounds into a double play. That's my point. That's when you want Reggie Jackson up, or you want DiMaggio up, or Mantle, or Willie Mays, or Hank Aaron. You want a guy who's going to drive in the runs. Tony Perez, even. I'd probably want Pete Rose or Joe Morgan up, those type of guys. Not a guy who's got a high OPS, but he's got a 200 batting average and no RBIs. That's why we look at those stats. All right. So we're taking Detroit over 8 because Joe Flaherty sucks. Needs to go back on SCTV. And Ryan Peapod is all over the place. So Detroit should hit them at home. We will see. This is the problem with Detroit. You don't know if you're going to get a 2-0 game or an 8-7 game. Even here, this should be a high scoring game because both pitchers suck. All right. Seattle gets the Yankees. The Yankees have been playing much better. No more of the under. Hi, Awawas. How are you today? Any questions? BRICS, comex, gold, or sports? I'm glad you like me. Thank you very much. Seattle and the Yankees. The Yankees are starting to hit again. They're 125-9. Logan Gilbert 2-2 with 3.40. Will Warren 5-4 with 5.02. This is a game I run away from. Probably an over game, but I'm not going to play it. Miami, Cincy, we saw Miami win. Cincy can hit. We've seen that. Cincy minus 125 and 9. Yuri Perez, 1-2 with the 4.50 against Nick Martinez, 6-8 with the 4.20. We're going to leave this alone. Colorado and Boston. Boston minus 275 and 9. Kyle Freeland, 1-9 with the 5.49 for Colorado. Brian Bello, 4-3 with the 3.42. This is too high to play Boston. And do we go over 9? I'm 9. I don't trust Colorado on the road. Next week, gold low or high. Well, I mean, gold should go up every week. There's no reason gold goes down. Gold, if we got to physical gold, would go up every day because there's huge demand for it. But because it's based on derivatives, it'll probably be right where it's at, the 3,300, 3,350 range until we finally go to Basel III, which we did go to, but apparently we're ignoring because they're still doing like this short now. So if China or Russia comes in and says, I want to buy that option and I'm going to buy it, somebody bought it at 32.95. There's movement up. They want to take delivery of the gold. So why would you short it if you have to come up with the gold to pay it off? So, I mean, in my world, I'm not going to call it next week, but we will see $4,500 gold. It's just once it breaks down, and BRICS is buying the shit out of it. The U.S. is collapsing. The UK, all the millionaires are leaving. They're collapsing. I mean, the whole world's collapsing except for BRICS because they own gold. So it's just a matter of time till the shit hits the fan. But to actually predict when the shit's hitting the fan, all I can say is it should already be happening. We're already in a recession. The whole world, look at this tariffs. They're all dumping dollars and they're buying gold with the dollars. I mean, when you see Japan sell $1 trillion of treasuries, what do you think they're doing with it? They're buying gold with it. When China sells another $1 trillion in treasuries, they're buying gold with it. So why isn't the gold price going up? Because of the options and the derivatives and comex. Comex is a paper market, and so therefore the physical, there's A and B. It's like Two-Face from Batman. There's the physical and there's the paper. And we are buying the physical at the cheap price. And that's all there is. It's very simple. What you're looking at is the paper price based on derivatives, based on JP Morgan and Citi wanting the lower price because they want to get out of their options. And that's what they're doing. And nobody's letting them do it. Everybody's buying it cheapy. And, if you can even get the gold at that price, I can at my guy's store. I got to pay $110 premium if it's a Eagle. For a Krugerrand and Maple Leaf, I only have to pay like a $50, $60 premium. So that's where I'm getting it, but I'm buying an ounce here and an ounce there and quarter ounces, a bunch of silver. So I can't tell you day by day what's going to, I couldn't predict it. When I woke up, it was 33.30. And then at 10 o'clock, it drops. I can tell you it's going to drop every day at 10 o'clock as I do. And then it comes back up right after. But I can't tell you week by week what's going to happen because it's a paper controlled market. However, all it means is everybody can buy gold real cheap. And that's what they're doing. And again, it's the big boys, it's the banks, it's Putin, it's China, it's Saudi Arabia, Brazil. They're all the BRICS countries are buying. They buy the bars, right? We don't buy the bar. We buy the ounce, not the bars. So that's where it's at. So all I can say is that's just if you're going to, don't wait for the price to drop because you can't. Just keep buying it, knowing that it's going to be, eventually 4,500, 5,000 on its way to 10,000, on its way to 20,000. It's just because as long as it keeps being paper, run by options, shorts and puts, short, they want the price to drop. As long as they keep doing that, it's hard to say. But how much money is Citibank going to lose? If I had Citibank stock or my money in Citibank, it'd be gone. They're going to be out. They cannot possibly pay off these options. And apparently they're finally figuring out that gold's not coming back. It's gone. It's very cheap right now. It's not where it should be. So look at the big picture. What's their option? Holding the dollar, which is worthless. So anyway, that's my take on it. As an Austrian economist, somebody who really understands what the hell is going on, not these idiot salesmen you watch on Mark McGuire or Alligator or any of those. All right. The Cubs and the Twins. We got the Cubs 149, Chitogo and Managa 5-2 at the 278 against Simon Richardson 4-4 at the 4-4-1. So every once in a while Richardson wins, and every once in a while he gives up 10 runs. Cubs at Mini. I think it'll be high scoring. Well, without Yamaga with the 278, I can't go over, so I'm going to let that go. The Dodgers at Milwaukee. Milwaukee beat them good yesterday. Dodgers 125, 8.5. Clayton Kershaw 4-0 with the 3-4-3 against Jacob Mizorowski 3-0 with the 3-2-0. I heard Kershaw made the All-Star team because the commissioner voted him in or something. What a bunch of bullshit. The guy stinks. 4-0, 3-4-3, starting to get better. Mizorowski 3-0 with the 3-2-0, 8.5. I'm leaving this game alone. I don't trust either pitcher. Pitt at KC. KC 145-8. Mitch Keller 3-10 with the 3.64. Again, it's like Skeins. There's no hitting. They can't score. Seth Lugo 6-5 with the 2.65. I'm going to go under with this one again. So I went under yesterday with KC, so I'm going to go under with Pitt today. Pitt under 8. We'll go 2 units. So basically Pitt, very weak. Look at it as a football team. No offense, good defense. That's what Pitt is. Mitch Keller is 3-10, but he's got a 3.64. KC's not going to hit. KC, Seth Lugo, he's got a 2.65. So Pitt probably not going to score in the game. Wallace, this time physically buy your prediction. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been telling you to buy physical gold and silver for 5 years. It's mostly because the dollar's worthless. They keep printing it. You cannot just keep printing it. It's worthless. And at this point, you cannot time gold or silver because it's paper market. So you just you collect it. I'm a collector. I'm not a stacker. I hate that term. I collect baseball cards or other things. And is it a good asset to own? Yes. Is the value going to go down? Never. Is my dollar value going down? It's worthless. It's lost 100% of its value. It basically has no value, but people are forced to take it because in the U.S., the government says you got to take the U.S. dollar. So you go to Kroger's, you can see the prices going up, which is the dollar being printed. We can't sell treasuries, so we have to print. We have to sell our T-bills to ourselves. That's a real solid thing. So the dollar's gone. So you either hold the dollar and watch it go to zero, and you can do a Madoff and cry, oh, he took my life savings. I trusted Bernie because he's such a nice guy. And I'm an idiot for thinking I could get 15% when the norm was 4%. Or so you could hold the dollar and cry when it goes to zero, or you could outsmart everybody and go, fuck, I'm buying gold and silver because I know the dollar is going to zero, just like the Romans, and the gold's going to go to the moon. We're not saying tomorrow, but it's going there because of the demand, and all the dollars in the world are worthless. So everything points to the only thing you can have is gold and silver. Maybe a Rolex, maybe a mantle card, but more or less gold or silver. So you're getting into that because it's where else? What's your choice? You can't stay in the dollar. You certainly don't want to buy a euro or a Swiss franc or any of those. And you certainly don't want to be in Bitcoin. So it leaves stocks, which are collapsing. People are taking their money out. Real estate trusts. We already saw Attack on Wall Street guy lose $60,000. They just pulled the rug out from under him. So keep that in mind. You are really limited in your lifeboats and your choices, and it's gold and silver, and you hold it and you sleep well at night. Price really can't go down. This little bullshit with the options, it's just bullshit. It's not real. It's not physical, and that's what BRICS is. BRICS is China and Russia and Dubai are coming out. They already have these gold exchanges to price physical gold. So we are on its way to doing it. It's sort of like you're driving from Detroit to Vegas. Well, you're getting there, but right now we're in Illinois now. We haven't gotten all the way to Vegas yet. We are in the car with gold. We've got it, which is the important stuff, and then you're just waiting for the final, the dollar, the dam to burst, the dollar to go out, the gold to go to the moon, and that's what's going to happen. So yeah, it's not a prediction. It's what's going to happen. I'm not really predicting. I guess I'm predicting baseball. I'm not really predicting gold. It's what's going to happen. That's a certainty. Just like the Romans. All right. So we're taking Pitt under. We've already played Toronto, Chicago. Toronto's on a 10-game winning streak, so we're just going to play them until they lose. Very simple. Bassett 8-4 to 4-3-2. Aaron Chevalier. They should beat the White Sox, who aren't very good. Washington, St. Louis, old NFC game. The game's at St. Louis. Jake Irvin for Washington, 7-3 with the 4.71. Sonny Gray, 8-3 with the 3.51. Who knows? St. Louis, 3 hitters. Washington, 5 hitters. Pitching's at, I have no idea. This is a game. These are the games we're staying away from. Cleveland, Houston. Cleveland finally won and finally scored some runs. Where was that all weekend? Houston minus 210-7. Joey Cantillo, 1-0 with the 3.41 for Cleveland. Hunter Brown, 9-3 with the 1.82. We're going under here. Hunter Brown, 1.82 ERA, under 7. And we'll go 2 units. This is what is always confusing. Do I take Hunter Brown to win with the 1.82 ERA, 9-3, or do I take the game under? Well, I look at Cleveland, Joey Cantillo, 1-0 with a 3.41. Probably hasn't pitched that much. Total was 7, which I don't like. But if I take Houston, it's a minus 210, which is a lot. So I'm going to go under with the game where I get much better odds. Texas and California. Did we play this? Yeah, we played this game under. This was a high-scoring game. Texas minus 118.8. Nathan Eovaldi, 5-3 with the 1.75, and Jose Soriano, 6-5 with the 3.72. We're going to go back to it again. Eovaldi's good. We're going to go under 8 for 2 units, and we'll see. But it's a good play. Wow, it's good work. Thank you. Do you have a picture, or what is that little pictures or camera sign that you have? Don't know what that is. So anyway, just feel free to ask the questions. That's why I'm here. And I don't really give opinions. I give basically fact-based answers. This is what will happen, not geez, I hope it happened. I mean, this is baseball is where I'm kind of giving you my opinion, but not in economics. That's all real. Arizona at San Diego. San Diego 137.5. Merrill Kelly 7-4 at the 3.55. Nick Pivetta 9-2 with the 3.25. Probably an under there. Arizona with 5 hitters. San Diego with 6 hitters. I'm going to leave this alone. I don't know. The total is 7.5. So Arizona can hit too well. I'm not gonna mess around with it. Philadelphia at the 49ers. We had Philly 49ers won yesterday. 49ers 158.5. Taiwan Walker 3-5 with the 3.64. Robbie Ray 9-3 with the 2.68. Another tough one. I'm gonna go under here. Philly under 8.5. And we'll go 2 units on this. Again, a 3.64 ERA and a 2.68 ERA. Frisco doesn't hit well. They won like 4-1 yesterday. So Philly hasn't really been scoring a lot lately. It's ironic because you think Philly is this really good team that scores a lot, like the Cubs. But every team goes through their time where they score a lot and then they don't score. And that's what you have here. So we're going under. And Atlanta against Oakland at Oakland, which is softball city. I used to play at softball city. So I say Atlanta 115, 10.5. Didier Fuentes 0-2 with the 9.0 ERA. Jeffrey Springs 6-6 with the 4.07. The Didier, who the hell is Didier Fuentes? Where did they find this guy at the car wash? From Colombia. Well, he's probably a drug dealer. Gave up 4 runs to Miami, 6 runs to the Mets, and in three innings, and 2 runs in 3 innings to LA. So this should be high scoring. Let's see what we got. So can Atlanta score? Atlanta's 3 hitters. Atlanta, well, I think they got one of their hitters back. Oakland can hit. This should be pretty high scoring. We're not going to bet it, but we're just going to circle it. Oakland over 10.5, just because they both can hit and both pitchers suck. All right, so let's recap. We had Toronto 2 units because they're on a 10-game win streak. We got the Mets 3 units. Detroit over 8, 2 units. Pitt under 8, 2 units. Houston under 7, 2 units. Texas under 8, 2 units. Philly under 8.5, 2 units. A lot of unders today. But it's just the nature of the day that pitchers with low ERAs are going after it. So you've got to bet them under, the Mets I took because they can hit. Pitt's an under team. The 49ers are an under team. Cleveland's an under team. So we're starting to identify the team more, and then we can go with it. Since Detroit's stealing signs, it's easy to bet them over. That's probably the only one. So, all right. So we got that. Let's see if there's anything in NFL. Any news there? Kirk Cousins admitted he felt a little bit misled when the Falcons drafted Penix. Oh, come on. Penix is 10 times better. I don't really care about that. Fantasy football, who cares? Dan Orlovsky's contract, agreed to a long-term contract. That guy's the worst analyst I've ever seen. You're giving this guy a long-term contract? Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's nothing worth saying. Sauce Gardner says Justin Fields has been making Aaron Rodgers throws. Oh my, you mean he's a pro quarterback? See, what is he kidding? Formal negotiations on an 18-game NFL schedule reportedly aren't coming anytime soon. It shouldn't be 17 games. At most, they should be probably 14. All right, that's it. Let's check our gold. Now we know it's a paper price, but we just want to get an idea. Like people ask me, why are we looking at it? And I'm really not. It's just for information. 32.98, silver 36.39. So again, this comex game is such bullshit. 32.30 at 4 in the morning. China gets out, Europe gets it, basically holds at 33.23, and just as they're leaving at 9:45, it goes down $40. Absolutely no reason. It is not. Nobody's sold an ounce of gold. Nobody's selling an ounce of gold. The only people that sell are like when I go into my store, they have gold because people have sold because they need to pay some bills, right? When I say nobody's selling it, I mean the banks, the pension funds, the wealthy who have gold are not selling it. People who have the gold, but they need the bills, the retirees, something, they might be selling the gold because they need the money. But that's it. All right. Where do we go first? Well, let's look at BRICS because that's probably our biggest questions. Worst dollar crash in 50 years. That's why we're buying gold and silver. What else can you buy? July 8th, riot in Europe. So I'm debating about going there. And now I'm like, I don't know what to do. Riots in Europe. Trump's biggest nightmare, Japan sold, is doing business with China now. When they sell the US dollars, they buy gold, the T-bills. Investors dump US stocks. All right, let's start with that one.
I started Tai Chi at 50. Now I'm 68.
Nobody cares. Nobody's listening to you.
Are pulling money out of the US and pouring it into China. Why? Because they see something coming. From Saudi sovereign funds to Singaporean billionaires, the money is moving east fast. And this isn't just a trend. It's a shift in the global balance of power. If you thought the US market was still the safest bet, this video will shake that belief. What's driving this? Let's break it down. In recent months, Jeff Bezos, the founder and former CEO of Amazon, has sold more than $8.5 billion in Amazon stock. That's not just a random cash out. It's part of a broader pattern that's catching the attention of global investors. And he's not alone. Corporate insiders across the tech sector have been trimming their holdings, from Tesla and Apple to Google and Meta. But Bezos stands out because of both the scale and the timing of his move. So, what's going on? For one, U.S. economic uncertainty is rising. Inflation remains sticky. Interest rates are high. The federal deficit is ballooning. And perhaps most importantly, confidence in U.S. political leadership is eroding, especially with the 2024 election aftermath still shaking investor sentiment. Meanwhile, credit ratings are under pressure, treasury yields are spiking, and the dollar,
So most importantly, we know all this, right? You're not telling us anything, nor do you know what inflation is. They all think it's prices. But the point of this video is that they are selling their stocks. As I told you, the stock market's going to collapse because people will sell, and there's more sells than buys. So people will sell their stocks and either move to China or buy gold with it. Most of these guys are too stupid. This Bezos isn't smart enough to buy gold. He's in stocks that were prompted up on bullshit. The real value of his stock should be $50, is $200. So that's why all those those tech stocks are selling, because they know the value is nowhere near what reality is. So they're selling their stocks, and so you either buy gold or you move it, buy stocks in China, which I would never trust China. The only thing you can trust is gold and silver. So I really don't understand why they would move it west. I don't know why they're rushing into China. China's broke. If you're worried about inflation and a bad economy, you've got it in China. So that's really not the answer. But The point of this video is that they are selling it, and that's the beginning. When the rich sell, then everybody else, pulls out. Now, the problem is these 401ks. Everybody, as far as I know, who has a 401k, works for a company, can't sell their stock. All they can do is say, I don't want to play anymore, and take the extra money and buy gold and silver with it. But they can't get out of the 401k. And so they're kind of fucked. But that's what's driving the stock market, is people in the 401ks, and they keep buying stock. They might switch. But if you're working for a company and you're in their 401k and they match it 5%, which big deal, 5% of nothing's nothing. What do they offer you? Stocks. They offer you bonds, maybe a money market. I mean, none of these choices are good or safe. The inflation is printing the money to death, which means the money has no value. So as long as you're in USD, you're fucked. So Bezos and these people that have a lot of money in stock are dumping. That's the beginning. And then you've got the Europeans, and I think that's in a different video, where they're pulling their money out of the stock market. That's what I told you. That's the end of the market. That's when the market crashes, because there's no demand. Everybody sees it and is pulling their money out. And the stock market is, I guess they're printing money to keep the market at 44,000. It's just bullshit. None of it's real. So let's see a little bit more of this idiot.
The ultimate safe haven is facing quiet but growing rejection in emerging markets. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. As US-based capital looks for safer and more profitable places, China is re-emerging as a magnet for global investment. You wouldn't think so, considering the Western media narrative around economic slowdown and authoritarian risk. But the money tells a different story. Take the data. According to Bloomberg and the Institute of International Finance, net capital inflows into China have surged in 2025, especially in sectors like green energy, AI, and semiconductors. Foreign direct investment from the Gulf states, particularly Saudi Arabia and the UAE, has grown by more than 40% in the first half of the year alone. Meanwhile, Chinese bonds are being scooped up at a rapid pace by Asian institutions who are quietly reducing.
They're all buying gold in China. China's bankrupt. So this is all bullshit about moving to China like China's a safe haven. Their dollar's shit. Now, they do have 60,000 tons of gold. So if you're buying gold, that's one thing. If you're buying bonds backed by gold, okay. But if you're just buying stocks and bonds, you're going to be broke. So this is bad information on why moving to China is terrible. But to get out of the stock market, that's a smart move. So we will look at that. Where's my BRICS? So here's some BRICS stuff. Everything's fine. I don't know that they're going to just come out and say we're doing a gold-backed currency, but they are saying we do have a currency coming out. So they are saying it. They're just not giving the details. Why should they? Here's a little thing on BRICS.
Until now, game changer. They have a wire trimming head that's universal. It's going to fit any week.
To cordially invite
BRICS has rightfully established itself as one of the key centers of global governance and the strong voice of our countries in support of the fundamental interests of the global majority is being heard more and more clearly on the international stage. BRICS has many like-minded partners among the countries of the global south and east. They are drawn to the culture of open partnership and cooperation, mutual respect, and consideration of each other's opinions that has developed within our association.
Unlike the
The
US,
creation of an independent settlement and depository system within BRICS, as it appears, will make currency transactions faster, more efficient, and more secure.
so there he goes. He just said it. He didn't say it was backed by gold, but he just said we're having a new system set up. I'll replay that. That's the take out of it is we're coming out with this new system, and everybody in BRICS, you better have gold to play, and that's it. So we got to read between the lines. That's the key that you're looking for. The new system coming out. They don't need to say it's gold back, but we all know that it's gold back. I thought there was a video I was watching where they had announced it was gold, but that isn't, like, Putin didn't say that. But anyway, let's drop it back just a little bit. All right, let's replay that. That was critical. That's them coming out with a new monetary system, which will be used gold back to avoid the dollar, and they'll just pay. So instead of right now, if China wants to buy something from England, they got to buy dollars, sell their yuan for dollars, and take the dollars to buy British pounds or something in euro. That's not the case in BRICS. They can go right to India and buy things from India, or buy oil from Saudi Arabia with their yuan, oil with Iran and use their yuan. All that's there. Okay, so that's what they're doing.
Partners among the countries of the global south and east. They are drawn to the culture of open partnership and cooperation, mutual respect, and consideration of each other's opinions that has developed within our association. The creation of an independent settlement and depository system within BRICS, as it appears, will make currency transactions faster, more efficient, and more secure. Incidentally, the use of national currencies in trade between our countries is steadily increasing. In 2024,
so there you go. The new currency system is up and they're using the dollar less. They're trading with each other less, which means they can get most of their goods from each other. There's Indonesia, there's Dubai, there's China, Russia, Brazil. They have a lot of the goods that they need. The U.S. doesn't make anything. All we do is some tech stuff, which China is probably more advanced in anyway. Apple gave all the secrets away to China, as Apple moved to China. I can't believe they gave all that. They're teaching engineering students in China, like our engineering. We're so fucked. I mean, what the hell is going on with our country, our companies? So they really don't need anything from us. All we are the buyers. But you know what? If our dollar's no good, do you really want dollars if this is worthless? And that's probably the biggest thing, is since the dollar's collapsed and has no value, I'd rather sell it for gold to China and India and Saudi Arabia and Brazil and all our new members. We'll take gold because they can't screw with gold. But the dollar's worthless. Even the euro is worthless. All these paper currencies, that's why everybody's running out of the US, running out of the UK. They're going to Dubai. Germany and Italy and France are all bankrupt. That's why they want their gold back. So you have all these things. Now, am I predicting gold? No, it's not a prediction. It's the only hope you have. The dollars are and the BRICS are all gold-backed currencies. I mean, that's why they're buying all the gold. That's why the gold price should be 100 times higher than it is. Gold should easily be 30,000 an ounce based on, in a physical world, if you leave it alone. But why won't they do that? I don't know. It's pissing the hell out of Russia and China because they have a lot of gold. Russia's got 60,000 tons. They want the gold to go up. They know it will. And Russia's got, 25,000 tons in Putin's swimming pool. And it's, he knows it's going up. He's got no problem with the war. They just launched 1,000 drones and missiles on Kiev. So he's got money. Apparently he gets money selling his oil, but this is the thing. So that's what you got to understand. So that's what BRICS is doing. And Putin just said it. All right, let's look at a little bit more of Putin.
the share of our national currencies, rubliand, the currencies of friendly countries in Russia's settlements with other BRICS states reached 90%.
I don't know if that's a bombshell, but we all know that was coming.
Never drink more than 1 cup of
Really?
this natural Zepbound if you don't want to swap out your entire wardrobe in the next 50.
Just fast.
Now, I would like to cordially invite via video conference the distinguished President of the Russian Federation, Mr. Vladimir Putin, to speak.
Didn't we just do this? Why are we uninterrupted?
Thank you very much, esteemed colleagues, dear friends, for your attention and support. First of all, I would like to join in expressing gratitude to President Lula da Silva and the Brazilian.
See, it's funny how they said Putin and Xi aren't showing up. They're snubbing it. And that's not what they did. Putin just has things to do, a little war going on. So he's doing the conference at home. It's like working from home. He's working remotely. So he's in Russia and he's doing the Zoom right now, or Google or Teams or whatever he's doing. Why does he actually have to be there as opposed to what he is? So he's attending the meeting. I'm sure his finance minister and others are there in person, but he's got a little war going on. So he's not snubbing BRICS. Not like BRICS is going anywhere. BRICS is the up and comer. So don't think they're going away, and they got all the gold, so they win.
Chairmanship for their active work in advancing strategic partnership within BRICS. The main thing is that BRICS countries continue to deepen cooperation in key areas such as politics and security, economics and finance, as well as cultural and humanitarian exchanges. Our association has significantly expanded and now includes leading states from Eurasia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America. Together, we possess truly enormous political, economic, scientific, technological, and human potential. BRICS countries account not only for a third of the world's land area and nearly half of the planet's population, but also for 40% of the global economy, with a combined GDP at purchasing power parity already reaching $77 trillion. This is according to IMF data for 2025. By the way, in this regard, BRICS significantly surpasses some other associations, including the Group of Seven.
That's the G7.
The figure is $57 trillion. Year after year, the authority and influence of our association in the world continue to grow. BRICS has rightfully established itself as one of the key centers of global governance and the strong voice of our countries in support of the fundamental interests of the global majority is being heard more and more clearly on the international stage. BRICS has many like-minded partners among the countries of the global South and East. They are drawn to the culture of open partnership and cooperation, mutual respect, and consideration of each other's opinions that has developed within our association. Based on this, at the summit in Kazan, Russia, in October last year, a decision was made to establish a category of partner countries for our association in order to build concrete, practical cooperation with all interested states. And as of today, there are already 10 such countries. I would like to emphasize that the BRICS countries represent different models of development, religions, unique civilizations, and cultures. At the same time, all of them advocate for equality and good neighborliness, for the priority of traditional values, the high ideals of friendship and harmony, and strive to make a significant contribution to ensuring global stability and security, universal prosperity, and well-being. Without a doubt, it is precisely such constructive approaches and such a unifying agenda that are in demand in the current challenging geopolitical environment. We can all see that fundamental changes are taking place in the world. The unipolar system of international relations, which serve the interests of the so-called Golden Billion, is becoming a thing of the past. It is being replaced by a fairer, multipolar world. The process of changing the global economic order continues to gain momentum. Everything indicates that the model of liberal globalization is becoming obsolete. The center of business activity is shifting toward developing markets, which is triggering a powerful wave of growth, including in BRICS countries. To make the most of the opportunities opening up in this regard, it is important to intensify cooperation among the member states of our association, especially in areas such as technology, efficient resource development, logistics and insurance, trade and finance. It is also necessary to continue expanding the use of national currencies in mutual settlements. The creation of an independent settlement and depository system within BRICS, as it appears, will make currency transactions faster, more efficient, and more secure. Incidentally, the use of national currencies in trade between our countries is steadily increasing. In 2024, the share of our national currencies, ruble and the currencies of friendly countries in Russia's settlements with other BRICS states, reached 90%. It is also relevant to significantly increase the volume of reciprocal investments by the member countries of the association, including through BRICS mechanisms and, above all, the new development bank. To this end, Russia has proposed the creation of a new BRICS investment platform. The idea is to jointly develop coordinated tools to support and attract funds into the economies of our countries, as well as those of the global South and East. It is important that our Brazilian colleagues have picked up on the initiatives put forward during Russia's chairmanship last year and have proposed working on their implementation. Among our shared achievements, I would like to highlight the launch of a special consultation mechanism on World Trade Organization issues. Progress is being made on establishing a BRICS grain exchange, a climate research center, a permanent logistics platform, and a sports cooperation program. I would also like to remind you of other Russian ideas which we believe are useful. These include the formation within BRICS of a partnership on carbon markets, an arbitration investment center, a platform for fair competition, and a permanent tax secretariat. We are counting on the support of our BRICS colleagues for these promising initiatives. And one more thing, in September, Moscow will host the International Television Popular Song Contest Intervision. This contest has already generated great interest. Artists from many BRICS countries, as well as from partner nations of our association, have confirmed their participation. Such a large-scale humanitarian project is aimed at promoting universal human, cultural, family, and spiritual values that are shared by all our countries. In conclusion, I would like to once again thank my colleagues from the BRICS member states for their fruitful and constructive cooperation.
Yada, yada, yada. Okay. And there was another one. Okay, here's another. This is a short one.
Most people are too lazy to do this, but it saves homeowners a fortune.
At the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, the world's rising powers closed ranks behind Russia, rejecting Western demands to isolate Moscow over the Ukraine conflict, and instead endorsing a multipolar vision of global leadership. And US President Donald Trump is evidently upset with, as per his Truth Social post.
Any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. There will be no exceptions to this policy. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Well, wait a minute. Is that anti-American that they're coming up with their own gold-backed currency? Not at all. The U.S. could have joined BRICS, I assume, but it's not anti-American. They're just competing. It's like, you got Kansas City with Mahomes and you got Buffalo with Josh Allen. Are they anti-Kansas City? No, they're just another team competing, and that's what this is. BRICS is just another team competing. They realize the dollar's crap, so they're getting out of the dollar. They realize the U.S. are the bad guys, so they're getting away from the U.S. and the U.K. and most of Europe, who wants to have a war with Russia Is that anti-American that we're all trying to fight Russia like they're the bad guys? I mean, it's such bullshit. Really, really poor. The whole statement like Russia's the bad guy here. No, Russia's not the bad guy. The U.S. is the bad guy. Instilling tariffs and you don't sell anything. There is no trade imbalance. The fuck you talking about? You've inflated yourself. You've got $37 trillion debt and you got monster inflation and you want to blame the Russians. Man, look in the mirror. You cannot print and print and print. That's what inflation is, and that's destroyed the dollar. You've done it. You've destroyed the dollar and you don't have any gold. We're all fucked unless you have gold and silver. That answers your question, but the time physically, always buy physical. You never want ETFs. You want to play a little stock, be careful. The market's about to crash. I would avoid that now. I maybe buy it when it's crashed, but I would just stick with physical gold and silver. Again, the market is US dollars. So even if you make money in it, it's worthless. So just stick with gold and silver. You want to diversify, buy a Rolex or a mantle card.
Meanwhile, the summit's final declaration sidestepped any criticism of Russia's military campaign. Rather than urge de-escalation, BRICS leaders repeated a generic call for a sustainable peace settlement, avoiding blame entirely. The language was deliberate, a sharp rebuff to the US and its NATO allies. Russian President Vladimir Putin, speaking via video, made clear that the age of Western dominance is coming to an end. He framed the global realignment not as a crisis, but as a correction.
All this indicates that the model of liberal globalization is getting out of hand. The center of business activity is shifting towards developing markets.
That message came just days after Donald Trump's renewed tariff threats and his July 3rd call with Putin, where the Russian president declared that Russia will continue to pursue its goals in Ukraine. BRICS leaders also condemned recent US and Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, calling them violations of international law. While the declaration avoided naming Washington or Tel Aviv, the message was unmistakable. The bloc briefly denounced sabotage attacks on Russian railways, but placed greater focus on long-term global balance.
According to the IMF, the total GDP, according to the purchasing power parity, has already reached $77 trillion over the past 25 years. By the way, according to this figure, BRICS is significantly superior to some other unions, including Group 7, which has $57 trillion.
Yeah, we heard this.
Delivering a final blow to the crumbling Western order and declaring that the future now belongs to the powers, reshaping the world on their own terms.
All right, so that's a couple of BRICS ones. This one's 32 hours long. We're not going to watch it, but it's out there. It's mostly what he just read and then a few extras. Alligator, gold, silver, which metal is better? He never really says it. This is a 12-minute one. I don't know that I think this is a new one. Yeah, I don't know. Here's a de-dollarization on China. Let's watch this for a minute.
And then this happened. Bananas are a great snack for stable blood sugar, for lowering your cortisol.
Do not eat bananas. They're not good for you.
China and the rest of the BRICS countries are clearly up to something big, and our analysts are trying to get a handle on just what. Consider this chart here. The SHFE is the Shanghai Futures Exchange, and we see that in the fourth quarter of 2024, last year, there was an explosion in gold futures trading. For some reason,
That's paper gold.
millions of people began trading with each other using Shanghai gold futures. Why the sudden interest for buyers and sellers here in China and across the world to use gold futures on the Shanghai exchange? Maybe it's speculation by investors, hedging of long or short positions, but Chinese regulators don't allow short positions anyway, usually, longer than overnight, and that's only for their own trading desks. It's not for speculators and likely not retail investors. So what is this line going straight up? This is another. Central banks are buying gold in record volumes, 80 tons per month at $8.5 billion, led by China.
Okay, now central banks are not the only banks that buy gold. I don't know why they focus on central banks, but the shadow banks, the pension funds, there's other people. Putin buys gold. He doesn't use the central bank. So that's just central banks buying. And why? Because if they have US dollars, they're worthless. That's why they're buying it. It's a very simple thing. The longer I hold the dollar, the worse it just keeps losing value. And why do I want to have something that has no value? So they realize they only like both gold and silver. Now, I don't know why they're buying options, but they are buying quite a bit of physical gold also. So maybe that's how they buy the physicals. They buy the option and then take delivery. I don't know, but I think Shanghai, I'm surprised they have options. I thought they were a physical exchange. All right, but that's what's going on.
China and a bunch of others we can't even identify for sure. Most of the buying is in secret, but China is the elephant here, and they're routing a lot of their global buys through Switzerland. China is already the biggest gold miner in the world, and yet China is also the biggest central bank buyer of foreign gold as well. All told, 1,000 tons per year, which is over a fourth of everything that comes out of the ground across the world. A survey of 72 central banks says that there are no gold sellers. Nobody plans to sell, and a third of them will increase their gold buying this year. The National Bank of Kazakhstan was a net seller of gold. Now they're buying. Just one example, there's Kazakhstan right under China at 130 tons a year of production. Instead of selling that gold to buyers abroad and collecting billions of dollars, they're keeping it instead. That's another good question to ask. Why Kazakhstan flipped the switch from net seller to net buyer.
It's obvious. They sold because they needed the money. That's why you sold your gold. And then now they've paid off whatever they owed. And now they're buying the shit out of it because if they're in dollars or whatever currency is worthless, so they got to get into gold, and gold's going up. So they needed to pay off something. That's why they sold the gold. It's very obvious.
Even at record high gold prices. Kazakhstan is at least admitting publicly what some of their plans are. Most of the central bank buying is undeclared. The blue bar here is declared gold purchases by central banks compared to the black, which is estimated purchases. It's an estimate because nobody really knows the number, but analysts can watch the funds coming in and the gold moving out, but governments and central banks are not informing the traders in Western systems. This helps to explain countries like Kazakhstan who are buying instead of selling, and why countries are doing it as quietly as possible. Central banks were sellers of gold going back decades. Nobody wanted to store gold when they had better ways to borrow and lend. But Western sanctions on Russia changed the thinking about all of that, and fast. None of the central banks are selling gold anymore, and many of the ones that are buying aren't reporting it. The dollar is being used as a weapon. Reserves can be frozen or just seized, so every central banker in the world outside of our own Fed or the European Union is strongly incentivized to get their dollar reserves moved to different banks and their gold reserves moved to different vaults.
So we're a central bank. So what are we doing? The dollar is being weakened. So why do we want to hold dollars? We don't. We want to play gold and silver also, because we know that's going up. The biggest thing this tells us, now let's get back to Austrian economics. What's a market? I can only sell the donut if there's a buyer of the donut, right? Adam Smith, and that's how he started, was watching people and their habits. So if a bakery had a donut, they'd buy it. So then the other bakery would see there's a demand for donuts, and he'd open up a bakery and start selling, or he already had it, started selling donuts. But the key is the demand. I can sell if there's demand for it. I can sell my Canadian club if somebody wants it. Otherwise, it's worthless. I can't sell it if nobody wants it. So if I see demand for gold going through the roof, as he's saying, and that's central banks, doesn't include pensions, doesn't include shadow banks or private banks, and there are a lot in China and Russia and India who are buying the shit out of gold, and nobody's telling anybody how much they're buying. So when you see, there's 2,000 tons in Russia, they're full of shit. Based on what? Nobody's knowing how much these are buying. So you have a huge demand for gold. So what happens when you have a huge demand for any item? The price has to go up, because especially with a limited supply. So you have a huge demand, as all these central banks and shadow banks and pensions and all the China are buying gold. Again, this is not the U.S. gold. It's not 3,300. It's gold. It's the world. It's 3,300. And that's the key. So you have huge demand. You have very limited supply in both gold and silver. And there's huge demand in silver too. Don't let them kid you. And that's the key to it. And you can see they're just buying the gold. And where's the U.S.? We're buying gold? Maybe. I don't know. I think we're too stupid. And although we do have all the money that we keep printing that's worthless, so I do hope that they're buying gold. But they're not saying, again, so we could have a lot of gold that they're not telling us about. We're just not showing it. Which is like your Fort Knox when they don't show the gold. So you think we don't have any. Well, we don't have any at Fort Knox. Doesn't mean JP Morgan doesn't have gold in their vaults, or the government or other places. But you would think we don't have any, and then we're not buying any, because they would say all the central banks are. So a lot of the times they say the U.S. isn't buying. But the key to take out of that is the demand. You have super strong demand that lifts the price. Same thing in silver. You have COMEX kind of stealthily Madoffing, keeping the price down. And that's why when you hear some idiots go, well, it's one step up and two down and two steps up and one, it's all bullshit. It's all options. It is not free market. In the free market, the gold would never go down. Nobody's selling it. He just said it. So in the real world, what would happen is gold would go to 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 without the sellers if it was a free market. Because there's the derivatives, that's why you see the stair steps, because then they push it down and they're making money, they're shorting it, and then they're buying it. And as they do this little game, which is what they're doing now, it's just bullshit. It's not the real price, it's a paper price. So realize this is physical and the demand is huge. So don't worry about your gold. You know it's going. It's just a matter of time till they stop doing these options, because they're going to get their ass kicked. All right.
That's what global market players strongly suspect now. Actual net buying by the Chinese is much larger than what their official data say.
60,000 tons.
Large deposits of European gold are in London. This is a chart of Chinese buying of 400-ounce bars. Most of that is probably brought back to vaults in China, but nobody outside China can say for sure. Some of the gold is moved from vaults in the UK to vaults in Switzerland. Again, we know that gold that is bought by China's central bank is leaving the UK and going to Switzerland, but the Swiss don't report separately the gold buys by central banks. So this is all an educated guess too. But here's the biggest question mark of all. China's domestic mining production, which is the biggest in the world, plus China's recycling, plus all this foreign central bank buying. As huge as those volumes are, it's not enough to explain all the new demand. There is a big hole, the difference between demand and supply. There is a lot of gold demand, and it's rising, which we see reflected in the gold prices, but nobody knows where it's going. The guys at GoldFix have a thesis which is very compelling. They put the pieces together and believe that the BRICS countries are setting up a financial system based on a gold standard.
We already know that. I mean, nobody knows. Yeah, we already know. This isn't new. They're having a gold standard. That's obvious. Some of these guys are so stupid. It's amazing.
It's being used as collateral right now, and China is leading the expansion of this whole system. Key to that is an international gold custody network. Vaults in China, Saudi, Southeast Asia, and Africa will serve as the plumbing for a new settlement system. Gold will be used as the underlying collateral instead of U.S. Treasury bonds and U.S. dollars. In the SWIFT system today, it's dollars that serve as the pools of liquidity to make global trade happen. But a growing number of countries no longer view the dollar or U.S. Treasury bonds as safe investments, and most certainly not if they can be seized or frozen by Western regulators. They need instead a new form of collateral that is free of politics, cannot be printed or inflated away, and recognized by everyone as a store of value.
I started Tai Chi at 50. Now I'm 68, and doctors ask me.
Gold has always enjoyed those features, but there are big problems. How to verify that the other party has gold? That's the trust issue. It also takes a long time to move gold. The SGEI in Shanghai is already set up to solve all those problems. China's currency is the renminbi, or yuan, and in this system, renminbi will be the medium of exchange, backed by gold. Buyers and sellers in the new system don't have to use renminbi in their trades, and they'll probably choose not to in bilateral trades that don't involve China, but they can do so if they want. So China is solving the trust and verification problem here by opening vaults in friendly countries across the world. In Saudi, the appeal for China and Saudi Arabia is that oil trades can be quickly settled outside the US dollar. In Southeast Asia, central banks there can pledge their gold for renminbi credit lines for their purchases of manufactured goods from mainland China. In Africa and the Middle East, their gold can be used to finance new infrastructure. And this is an important wrinkle. Respective BRICS countries put some of their gold in vaults of other countries. Your gold is here, my gold is there. You can go to your bank and count my gold, and I can do the same for your gold here. That helps explain what's happening in Singapore. We think vaults in Singapore are being used to custody gold deposits from China, India, Indonesia, and Gulf states. China, India, and Indonesia are BRICS countries, and the question is why they will park their gold in Singapore instead of bringing it home. And that's the answer. Singapore's banks are highly regarded and trusted. They provide auditing and verification of the ownership of the gold in their vaults. Then blockchain systems make all the transactions happen very fast, in seconds. The gold sits still, but ownership of the gold can change instantly to finance trade and instantly back again upon settlement. That feature is new, the instant convertibility from renminbi to gold or back, and it means that this gold is replacing the guarantees for global trade. It's not U.S. Treasury bonds anymore, dollars, but it's gold. And a lot of the gold moving in and out of China goes through Shanghai. And that might put this chart, the first chart, into some better perspective. If gold is being used as the collateral, mainland China buyers and sellers need to convert back and forth to renminbi, And maybe they're using short-term gold futures on the Shanghai exchange to make that part of the trading work. The implications of this, if true, are becoming obvious to everyone. And these bullet points here include Russia. And they also apply to every single other country that might be worried about running afoul of Western governments. This whole system is sanction-proof. Countries will do all the trading they want, and American and European regulators can't see any of it. This is the Tonan Ri waterfall in Hainan. Be good.
Okie doke. So there you go. All the gold's going to China. I think we saw that one. Investors dump U.S. stocks, flee to China. We've seen Trump's biggest nightmare, Japan selling the T-bills and joining China. Here's the riot in Europe that
if you're currently using or planning to use any of these companies, and you can see your car listed here.
How the world order is changing. Shocking figures. Germany allocates 250 billion euros for military spending, cutting social programs.
Sorry.
France adds another 180 billion. And what do ordinary people get? Closed hospitals, crumbling schools, and empty promises of security. Foundation June reports, the number of opponents of militarization has grown by 18% in 6 months. And these are not hippies with flowers, these are workers, teachers, pensioners, those who pay taxes and see their money flying down the drain of military spending. It is especially hard in the south of Europe. For Greece, Spain, and Portugal, the requirement to spend 5% of GDP on defense is like asking a homeless person to buy a yacht. At the same time, young people are unemployed, education is in decline, and medicine is barely breathing. The most interesting thing is that even at the height of the Cold War, military spending did not exceed 3% of GDP. Now Washington is demanding a minimum of 5%, turning Europe into its military appendage. And if earlier they still pretended to care about the people, now all the cards are on the table. What happens? Europeans are forced to participate in geopolitical games, even when the treasury is empty. This is no longer a partnership. This is an open dictate from overseas friends. According to independent experts, such a policy can lead to serious economic crisis in the coming years. Mass layoffs, rising prices, and social tension. This is what awaits Europeans in the very near future. Write in the comments where you watch our program from and how you feel about the growth of military spending. The protests in The Hague are not just the...
So what's happening is the U.S. is broke, and they're trying to get these people to buy military because the CIA thinks that if you buy military weapons, it'll get you out of the recession because it'll provide sales, because we know the government doesn't produce any revenue. So the government goes to Europe and says, "Hey, we need you to get your military spending up to 5%. Why? There's no war. You're not going to fight the Russians. The Russians aren't going into Europe. They've got what they wanted. They got the cities in the Ukraine. They're basically freeing them. To them, it's not a war. It's just we're trying to free our cities that are held in the Ukraine, and that's what we want. And they're not going anywhere. Russia. They have no idea to go invade Europe. Why is Europe increasing their military spending? So they can, because of the defense contractors who run the U.S. government, want to increase sales because that'll get us out of the recession if people buy tanks and guns and stuff with money they don't have. They're bankrupting Europe, which is why the riots, because the people there are just getting no services. They don't want the military spending to go up. They can't afford it. And again, it's just bullshit. Again, these elitists, the George Soros basically running everything. And this is what happens when you got a Nazi running everything. It's very bad. All right.
Discontent of the crowd, but a powerful signal to the system. Europe is turning into a militarized zone with strict control over every step. Behind the beautiful words about democracy lies an Excel table with military spending. Subscribe to the channel in order not to miss the next investigations on how the world order is changing. The International Military Alliance continues its aggressive expansion, disguising it as strengthening defense. But the facts say otherwise. This is an offensive strategy. After expanding to 14 countries, tensions are only growing. Instead of dialogue, ultimatums; instead of partnership, an arms race. The situation with the territory of instability is especially indicative. Under the pretext of assistance, the region is being militarized, which increases the risk of new conflicts. Russia, on the other hand, is demonstrating a balanced approach, offering diplomatic solutions. Friends, share in the comments how you evaluate the actions of the Western Alliance in your country or region. It is especially interesting to hear the opinion of our foreign viewers. How much militarization affects your daily life? Do you want me to touch on the events in your region in the next video? Write where you are watching from, and I will make a detailed analysis of your region. Every military operation of the Alliance results in chaos and destruction. Research confirms that wherever their troops appear, instability grows. The only ones who win are the arms manufacturers. And ordinary people get streams of refugees, increased crime and economic decline. In the next part, we will reveal shocking data on how military spending is destroying the social sphere of European countries and why it is beneficial to certain forces. You will learn the names of those who really profit from this situation. European absurdity, when fighters are more important than hospitals. The situation in Europe resembles the theater of the absurd. Since 2001, defense spending has skyrocketed by 200%, while budgets for education and medicine are melting away like spring snow. Belgium is a good example. More than 240 clinics are closed, but the government finds 64 billion euros for the F-35. For comparison, the entire network of schools in Volgograd costs half as much. The infrastructural collapse is obvious. In Vogtland, 17% of schools operate in pre-war buildings. Their repairs require 2.5 billion euros, a sum that pales in comparison to military spending. Public transport in large cities has turned into a quest for survival. Routes are being cut, equipment is deteriorating, and there are not enough drivers. In 2025, a paltry 500 million will be allocated for transport, 10 times less than for military toys. This outrages even local officials, who are forced to cut vital expenses. People's patience has snapped. When the government froze wage indexation, people took to the streets with the slogan, "First the bus, then the F-35." Deputy Rudy Kens aptly noted, "No infrastructure disaster happened because of external threats. All this is the result of the wrong priorities." Discontent is growing across Europe. 61% of EU residents believe that their countries are too generous with international security and stingy with domestic problem. In Germany, the situation is especially indicative. With a planned 5% of GDP for defense, every second euro of the taxpayer will go past social needs. And this is in a country where the national debt is already approaching 70% of GDP. What do you think about this budget distribution? Leave your answer in the comments. The new reality of Europe, when guns are more important than people. A dramatic situation with budget priorities is unfolding in Germany. 45 billion euros are spent on debt servicing alone, practically the entire higher education budget. And at this moment, the government is planning multi-billion-dollar spending on military needs, including the modernization of the Bundeswehr and the purchase of the latest weapons systems.
So Europe's basically fucked. They have no money and they're buying military, which does not produce income. I don't understand, what they're doing. It's just stupid, right? Where's the threat that you need to build up your defense? There isn't one. It's based on the defense contractors forcing them to buy which then enables them, the defense contractors make money. They're not even using a war now. They're just making them buy in case of a war, which is insanity. Why do you need all these things? You don't need them unless there's some bigger plan to keep everybody captive while they have all these planes and tanks and missiles. What, they're going to kill everybody? I mean, it's just insanity. So you're spending money you don't have, that you've printed, that isn't backed by anything in the first place. So you have massive inflation all over the world, which is basically money printing. So you have to pay for these things with money printing. They're going to print money to pay for military that I don't need. You know, what the hell is that? I don't know. My advice is to go find a BRICS country that you can feel fairly safe in, if there is one, and take your gold, and you'll be safe there. This is just absolutely ridiculous. All the military spending, so the defense contractors can make money, and the U.S. thinks that's going to help them out of the recession. That's what this is all about: is the U.S. recession. That if we can, more defense contractors will get us out of it, which is absolutely insanity. Oh well, if people buy our goods, that'll get us out of it. They don't even know what a recession is. The growth is gone. This little industry, defense contractors, is not going to support the whole country, and that's only in the U.S. You're bankrupting every other country. So this is, I think we've seen enough of that. Worst dollar crash in 50 years. Well, let's have some fun with that.
Tesla is finished. Elon has failed. That is what they want you to believe. But tech expert Jeff.
And they are not showing any sign of. This is the worst dollar crash in half a century. China just dumped billions in U.S. debt. And Wall Street, they're calling it the Sell America moment. Something big is shifting, and fast. Countries that once propped up the U.S. financial system are now quietly backing away. At the same time,
now remember, when they're selling, they're buying gold, right? That's the key. So they sell their dollars to get dollars to buy the gold. That's all they're doing. So there's the demand for gold. So it all comes around to gold, because gold you can't print, you can't inflate, and it can't lose its value no matter what COMEX tries to do. All they're doing is keeping the gold price down to keep it cheap so people can afford it, which is part of the plan also, is to keep it cheap with COMEX because everybody wants to buy it. So remember, when they sell dollars, they're buying gold.
America's own investors are losing faith, moving their money overseas. Why? Because the pillars holding up the dollar are starting to crack. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden moves by China, the shocking numbers Wall Street doesn't want to talk about, and why this could be the beginning of a global realignment. Keep watching, because what you're about to see might change how you view the entire U.S. economy. In the first 6 months of 2025, the U.S. dollar lost 10.8% of its value when compared to other major world currencies. If you had $1,000 in January, by July it would only be worth about $890 internationally. A $100 loss.
See, that's what I've been trying to tell you. If you just hold your dollars, you lose value. So 1,000 went down to 820, right? That's the point. That's why you buy the gold and silver physical. You must buy the physical. You cannot buy the ETFs, and be careful in stocks. Very little to go into the gold stocks, because the stock market's crashing. It's going to be very soon. So again, your risk in holding dollars in the bank, or even in the stocks or in Bitcoin, are very high because the value is low. So let's say you have 100,000 in Bitcoin. And of course you bought it at $1, like everybody. Nobody bought it at 20, 30,000. So you bought it at $1. Now it's 100,000. So you have 100,000 in Bitcoin. But wait, the dollar's losing value. Even though the Bitcoin's still 100,000, the 100,000 isn't worth what it was. It's worth 820, and it's going down and down and down. So by holding it in Bitcoin, stocks, the bank, the dollar's losing value. Your only option is to get into gold and silver. People in their 401ks. Well, I got 500 grand in my 401k. Well, it's worth 20% less, even though it still says 500k, because what you can do with the 500k is you only really have 400k of it. That's the perfect example there.
Loss in global buying power without you even noticing. That may sound like just another statistic, but it's not. This is the worst first half performance for the dollar in more than 50 years. Not since 1973, when the US ended the gold standard and the Bretton Woods system fell apart, has the dollar weakened this quickly. Many people didn't see it coming. The headlines were there, but the full meaning was lost on the public. This wasn't caused by a single event or a temporary panic. It happened because of a dangerous mix of aggressive trade policies, out-of-control government spending, and a sudden loss of global trust in America's ability to manage its economy responsibly. And no country has made that loss of trust more clear than China. While Trump waged his trade war with tariffs, China responded in a much quieter but far more damaging way. In April 2025 alone, China sold $8.2 billion worth of U.S. Treasury bonds. It was done in secret and only came to light recently. This wasn't just an economic move. It was a message. China was no longer interested in supporting the U.S. financial system. This was a direct response to Trump's policies, but it was also part of a larger plan. For years, China has been trying to reduce its dependence on the dollar. April's sell-off showed they were serious. What makes this so disturbing is the fact that China has a history of selling large amounts of U.S. treasuries. China has been slowly cutting back on U.S. debt since 2012. Back then, they held over $1.3 trillion in American government bonds. As of April 2025, that number has dropped to just $757 billion. That's a 44% reduction over 13 years, and it means China has sold off over $600 billion worth of U.S. debt. What happens if other countries follow China's lead? The U.S. might find it harder and more expensive to borrow money. And if that happens, the whole financial system could start to shake. With only $757 billion worth of U.S. treasuries left in China's possession, it is likely that we would see China dump more of their U.S. assets as they make their local economy their priority. Let me explain why this could not only be a signal that the dollar is dying, but the whole U.S. economy is collapsing too. The U.S. government spends far more than it collects in taxes. To cover the gap, it borrows on a massive scale. The tool it uses? Treasury bonds. These are essentially IOUs, promises to repay borrowed money with interest. When foreign countries like China, Japan, or the UK buy these bonds, they're not just investing. They're financing the U.S. government. That money keeps the lights on in Washington, paying for everything from the military to Social Security. Right now, America owes more than $37 trillion. Each year, it must issue hundreds of billions of dollars in new debt just to stay afloat. And here's where the danger begins. This entire system depends on one fragile assumption, that there will always be buyers. To be fair, the dollar is still the backbone of global finance. Over half of the world's central bank reserves are held in US dollars, and treasuries remain one of the safest assets in the world. But that dominance is no longer guaranteed, and the cracks are becoming harder to ignore. If other countries start dumping treasuries, because of inflation fears, political tension, or simply a desire to escape U.S. influence, the consequences could be severe. The U.S. would have two bad options: raise interest rates, making debt even more expensive, or print more money, risking inflation. Neither path ends.
Printing more money is inflation, not causing inflation. That's what inflation is. I don't understand why it's so hard for these guys to understand it, except for they're all Keynesians. Printing money is inflation. It devalues the dollar automatically as you print the money. The more money there is, the less it's worth. Period. Not prices.
Well, the Treasury market is the foundation of America's entire financial system. If it cracks, borrowing grinds to a halt. And without borrowing, the government can't function. That means government shutdowns, unpaid salaries, frozen services, and even the risk of default.
We can pray.
Something that once seemed unthinkable for the world's most powerful economy.
Most people are too lazy to do this, but it saves homeowners a fortune.
Shut up.
The risk of default, something that once seemed unthinkable for the world's most powerful economy. While the world was distracted by rising interest rates, trade wars, and collapsing markets, China was making a very clear and quiet move behind the scenes. It was selling US dollars and buying gold. Lots of it. Over the past 3 years alone, China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, has bought more than 210 tons of gold. Goldman Sachs estimates that China is buying about 80 metric tons of gold worth about $8.5 billion every month, and they are not showing any sign of slowing down. That's a huge amount by any measure and one of the biggest gold buying sprees by any central bank in the world. As of early 2025, China officially holds over 2,300 tons of gold. But
Again, why do they quote the central bank? They don't quote the private bank, the citizens. And China has 60,000 tons of gold. Thank you very much.
here's the catch. Many experts believe the real amount could be even higher, as China may be hiding some of its gold through state-owned banks or buying quietly in foreign markets. So why gold? And why now?
What do you
Because gold
think?
is safe. It doesn't belong to any one country. It doesn't get affected by a president's angry tweet or a central bank's interest rate decision. It doesn't lose its value because someone in Washington
Can't
made a
inflate
bad
it.
economic choice. It is the oldest and most trusted store of value in history. Gold can't be printed. It can't be frozen. It can't be sanctioned. China learned a hard lesson that the US will weaponize the dollar anytime it wants to.
More importantly, gold can't be printed, and there's always a huge demand for gold. So as long as you have a huge demand, it's not going to lose value, and it can't be printed, so it's not going to lose value. That's why gold. That's why since the Romans, people count it as money, and you can't print it. So that's why gold.
And has done this with several countries already. The US has threatened to cut off access to SWIFT and is using tariffs to bully trading partners. Beijing saw how dangerous it was to rely too much on the US dollar. So it started quietly changing course, moving away from the dollar and toward gold. And the shift is massive. And here's the important part. China didn't make a lot of noise about it. It didn't hold press conferences or boast in the headlines. It just quietly acted. But the message couldn't be louder. This is what you might call a silent revolution. It didn't come with drama, but it sent a strong signal. Gold is not just something shiny in a vault. It's protection. It's power. And for China, it's a way to prepare for
Freedom.
a world where the US dollar is no longer king. This is happening at a time when America's financial system is looking very shaky. It is not just China that is dumping on the US economy. Even rich Americans are making it clear they do not believe in the path the US government is taking. The super rich, billionaires, top executives, and elite investors are no longer just diversifying their portfolios. They are moving their money out of the United States. The year began with promise. Markets were hopeful, inflation had cooled slightly, and many expected a soft landing for the US economy. But those hopes began to fade fast. By June, American wealth managers started dumping the dollars too. Financial analysts have started referring to it as the Sell America moment, a clear sign that faith in the system is starting to crumble. The reason is that Trump is creating unpredictable policies, aggressive trade tactics, and confrontation with key allies. Gallup's poll paints a grim picture. Over half of Americans now believe their financial situation is getting worse. Fewer than a third think the market will recover anytime soon. That's not just sentiment, but what Americans are experiencing. Wealthy Americans are taking real steps to protect themselves. They're moving investments into European equities, shifting funds into gold, and even applying for second passports. According to recent data, the number of Americans seeking foreign investor visas and dual citizenship has surged by over 1,000% since 2020. Family offices, private firms that manage money for the super rich, are no longer hiding their moves. A report from Financial News in London found that major American and European wealth managers are cutting back exposure to US assets. They're pouring capital into international markets instead, with a focus on European stocks and emerging market bonds. BNP Paribas confirmed that many Asia-based family offices have started dumping U.S. equities in favor of markets in Japan, China, and Europe. And they're not doing this quietly.
So the stock market are going to go up or down if all these people are pulling the money out of stocks. How the fuck can the stock market still be 44,000 when it should be about 24,000? So nobody trusts America. Market has to crash. The dollar is losing value. And yet gold isn't going up as it should because they're price fixing it. See, that's the point. When you ask that question, well, why isn't gold going up? Because it's price fixed. It's not a free market item. And neither is stocks. If everybody's selling their stocks, why isn't the stock market collapse? Because they're keeping it up with the printing of the dollar that's worthless. So you have a dollar worthless. You have people selling their stocks to get out of dollars. Now, the bigger question we have to ask is, what the hell is going on here? Is Trump really this stupid that he doesn't know what he's doing? I find that hard to believe that he could possibly be this stupid, although maybe he is. I know that Scott Simpson, his Treasury Secretary, is a Soros guy. They want the U.S. to collapse. So I believe Trump might be this stupid, and he's listening to Scott Simpson and Soros. Basically, he's listening to Soros, and Soros is killing the country because he's a Nazi and he hates the U.S. So I think that's part of the whole gang. We're doing it on purpose. And if we're gonna, we have only one option, which is gold and silver. That's why I'm telling you, get out of the stock market. Because if everybody's pulling their money out and they're printing money to run the government, well, that's more inflation. So, this thing is just, you can't hold it. There's no risk. Okay. You have no risk in your portfolio. If you take your 100, 200, 500 grand and you buy gold and silver with it, what's the risk? Gold can't go down. Yeah, we see the little comex bullshit going on today, but that's just bullshit. It can't go down. So therefore, you have huge demand for gold and silver all over the world. COMEX is being blown up because they're coming out with the Shanghai and the Russian and Dubai gold exchanges you need physical, right? It's not a paper market. It's not an options derivative market. It's a physical market. Now I have gold and everybody wants it and the price is going to go. Right now, if I sell gold, it's not because anybody wants it, right? Or if I go buy at the store, he's looking at COMEX pricing it. It's not me going, even on eBay, it's all fake because they're using the COMEX price, right? So if you got rid of the COMEX price and then you go on eBay, you'd be getting $20,000, $30,000 for your gold. So keep that in mind. But your stocks are finished. So we're trying to look good, I guess. We're just telling lies one after the other. Get out of the stock market, get out of the dollar. Every time they print money, because nobody buys our treasuries, that's more and more inflation. Makes the dollar worth nothing. So why do you want to hold the dollar worth nothing? Think, McFly, think. You want to be in gold and silver. Maybe you buy a Rolex or one of these Philippi other watches, and maybe you go buy Mantle cards and Montana cards and Brady cards and Jordan cards. As I'm showing you, those have, if you get a PSA 10, they're worth like 100,000. So they will go up. As the dollar goes out, your house is going to zero, your car is going to zero, your bank goes to zero, your stocks go to zero, your Bitcoin goes to zero. The only thing not going to zero is gold and silver. It's your only lifeboat. This is not a guess. This is not an opinion. This is reality. This is what's happening. And the whole world is running into gold and dumping the dollar. And that's why we dumped the dollar. We took our money and we bought gold and silver. That's why this is ripped, because this is what it's worth, 1 cent. And this is not far behind. This 5's worth maybe 2 cents. It's not safe in Europe. It's not safe in Britain. Any dollar that isn't backed by gold is going to run through the same course. They have to print because the government's too big. and they need more dollars. Well, taxes are dropping because people aren't working, people are getting older, and they're relying on Social Security pensions, so they're not working, paying taxes. So that's one thing. So the tax base is going down, so they print money, and every government's the same. Their debt's getting big. The government employees are too big. You cannot have a big government. It costs too much because it doesn't produce revenue. And these idiot governments that are buying the defense from the defense contractors, they don't even see the benefit. Only one is the U.S. defense contractors, who are seeing sales go up because of the other countries buying, but the other countries are not making any money. They're just spending their money that they're printing to buy a missile, but they don't get any benefit from it. They're not going to use the missile. Where are they going to use the missile? Oh, well, I have it. Oh, you don't need it. There's no real wars going on. Russia is not attacking Europe. This war in Israel and Iran, I don't know, but that's Europe we're talking about. It's just a crime what's going on. They're ruining the economy, but we are what's the only way to go is the gold and silver. That's why you buy it. You buy physical, and just buy as much as you can. The more you keep in dollars, as they said, it's worth less and less and less, and it's going to go. It's worth if you have $100, it's worth $1. So if you had 100,000, it's worth 10,000, which means that's what you can buy with it. All right, a little bit more here.
They're calling it a rebalancing, away from American risk. According to Bank of America, in just 1 week, a staggering $8.9 billion was pulled out of U.S. stocks. That's not just a bad week for Wall Street. It's a glaring sign of fading global confidence in the American economy.
So if that happened, why didn't the stock market drop? Does that make any sense to anybody here? That they pull out 8.9 billion or trillion out of the stock market, and the stock market goes up. How could the stock market go up if everybody's pulling their money? So now you see two things. You see a fake gold price where gold's much higher, and you see a fake stock price where the stock's much lower. You've got Warren Buffett and you got Bezos and other players pulling their money out of the stock market. If we don't know anything, we go, well, Warren Buffett, Bezos, why is Bezos pulling his money out of Amazon? Not even like Coke or Disney, where Buffett pulled his money out of the banks. So why are they doing it? And then why hasn't? So one day the market's going to be boom. Because all the shit will finally hit the fan, and then gold goes boom. Because we know the demand for gold is not being shown in the fake price on comex. We are seeing a bullshit comex option price, not a physical price. So once comex blows up, because they'll just keep buying from comex to get this cheap price. So the comex price is here, the real price is up here. So how do you and the stock market, the price is here, but the real price is down here. Don't be stupid and don't be Madoff. You understand that's what's happening. You know that's what's happening. You're hearing that. So I play the videos so you can see what's going on in other places, and so can I. So people pulling the money out of the stock market, people buying gold, yet the prices are not moving, which makes no sense. Now, if you watch The Big Short, near the end, as the commercial real estate is collapsing, Batman and the other guy are both like questioning why isn't the showing, why is the risk on the housing market didn't go down? They're still rating them AAA. Why is this happening? And because they were dumping and dumping and dumping. So it's possibly also what's happening now is people want to buy gold, so they're keeping the price down. People want to get out of the market, so they're holding the market up until their buddies are out, just like The Big Short, where it collapsed, but they didn't let it until Die Hard 3 guy said, hey, let's dump it all. And the Attack on Wall Street guy said, let's dump it all. We don't care about our customers. So until they say that, it's not going to go. Then all of a sudden it dumped and everything was gone. And the Lehman Brothers moment. So that's what you're having, is they're holding it to buy more gold and to get out, but there's not really a supply of gold left. The gold's gone, right? There's no more gold bars that you can go into COMEX and buy. It ain't there, or silver. So it's for the other countries who want to buy gold. For some reason, they're using COMEX as the price. What the fuck are you doing that for? It's not even physical. And the same thing with the stock market. They're holding the price up so people can get out. All these foreigners are, hey, hold it out. And it's like Madoff. When Madoff finally admitted that he was Ponzi scheming, the week before, he told JP Morgan, pull your money out. So he still had money, right? He probably, let's say he had $1 billion and there was 10 billion of withdrawals. So he's got $1 billion left. And who am I going to pay the $1 billion to? So he calls up JP Morgan. He says, Diamond, sell out of the Madoff. His big investors, get out. I have enough money to give you, but I don't have enough money to give everybody else. And I'm going to announce it's a Ponzi scheme. Why he didn't just close up, I have no idea. But so JP Morgan sold out a week before Madoff said, I'm doing this. So I think you have the same situation happening here. Why isn't gold going through the roof? Because people are still buying it. The Chinese want more, Russians want more, I don't know. And why isn't the stock market collapsing? Because people are trying to sell, but they don't want to sell when it's at 10,000. They want to sell at 44. And it's all algorithms and it's all money printing that's keeping the phony stocks. So you're going to have two major things happen. Three. You have the dollar go to zero. Good luck going to the grocery store. You're going to have the stock market at about 5,000. Good luck if you're holding that as your 401k in retirement. And you're going to have gold go from about 3,300 to about 15,000 at least. And then it's all over the world. So everybody's selling the stocks and everybody's buying gold and everybody's dollar is worthless. This is the picture that is happening now. This is not an opinion. And I try to back it up with these videos. That's what's happening. So your choice is either stay in dollars and stocks and watch it collapse, stay in Bitcoin and watch it collapse, stay in the bank and watch the value of your money go to zero, or you can buy gold and silver and maybe mantle cards if you want to differentiate, and a little bit of stocks, but be careful because the market's going to crash because people are pulling their money. It's not like they're saying, well, wait, the gold and silver stocks don't sell, but everything else. No, it's all going because the people are panicking, pulling the money out. So to get to the Titanic part, we are now 90% of the boat is in the water. And people are still, the boat can't sink, it's unsinkable. We're almost at the panic point where everybody realizes the boat's going to sink and everybody realizes we need to get on the lifeboats as our only out before we go to the bottom of the Atlantic. But people didn't do that at first, did they? When the boat started sinking, people still didn't really jump to the lifeboats. The frenzy hasn't hit yet. And that frenzy is this far from hitting. It is not, it'll be 10 years. No, it's not going to be 10 years. It's happening now. People are pulling the stocks. People are dumping the dollar. They're doing it now. So if you're back 10 years ago, we know this is going to happen. We knew this was going to happen in 1971 when we went off the gold standard, but it took 50 years. Well, it ain't going to take 50 years from now. This is the point. This is it. They're pulling their money. All these Chinese and Japanese and everybody else is pulling their money out of the Fed, of the treasuries. They're selling it for gold. They're dumping the stock market, as we just showed. China just dumped $8.2 billion in bonds. Japan just did the same thing, $1.7 trillion. We cannot pay our government. Our government is our biggest expense because they all get paid, but they don't produce revenue. So if they're not producing revenue, how are we going to pay the people at the DOD and people at the education and all and everywhere else? How are we going to pay our government employees? We can't. We have to print the money that isn't worth anything. So everybody's getting worthless money, but you don't know it because you don't understand it. That's why I'm here. So you get out of that money and you buy the gold and the silver or the Rolex or the mantle card. Those are your only I bring those up because those are your assets. If you have gold, you will still buy a Rolex with the gold, and you will still buy a house with the gold, and you will buy a mantle card with the gold. The rest of the shit you're not going to buy. Maybe my Canadian Club 12-year, you might give me a Mercury dime for it. Everything gets reset into, you go to the grocery, you go to Kroger's now, milk is a Mercury dime. Everything is in silver. Steaks will be an ounce or maybe a quarter ounce of silver will buy you a steak. And that's what ends up happening. So that's why you buy the gold and silver, because soon you won't be able to get it. And soon the price will be much higher. So they're kind of holding it down, but that's ending. So just be aware. And you have no risk in the portfolio, as I say. You have the gold, and if you need, you can go sell it if nothing happens. But we all know it's happening now. People are getting out of the dollar and selling their stocks. And Bezos and Buffet are the two key ones you can look at, but they just said $800 billion are being sold. And once the market starts dropping, you are going to see the shit hit the fan. Then the panic starts. So like the Titanic, you don't know yet it's going to sink, even though it got hit by an iceberg and the water's coming in and the boat's sinking. You still can't think that it's going to sink until it's about 90% in the water and the water is coming on the ship. Do you finally realize we're sinking? And that's where we're at now. You can see it. So those are the points. So get the hell out of the stocks. Get out of your 401k. Unless you want to hold 401k that's worthless, you can do that. Don't worry about paying taxes. Who cares? You're paying it. If you got 500 grand, your tax is what? 10, 20 grand. That leaves you 480 to buy gold and silver, which will double or triple in the next little bit of time. That'll more than pay for the taxes. But if you don't, your 401k is worthless. And so people are real difficulty with that concept. They just don't understand it. So that's where we're headed. It's not a guess. And you can see what's that's what's happening. I'm just summarizing what's happening. I'm not making it up. I'm showing you what's happening. Let's just finish this.
Report shows that investors have been rushing into foreign markets instead, with Japan and Europe emerging as the big winners. Japan alone attracted $4.4 billion, the largest weekly inflow since April last year. Meanwhile, Europe saw over $3 billion pour into its equity markets. But it's not just about tariffs. Many fund managers believe U.S. stocks are overvalued, bloated by years of stimulus and cheap borrowing. With inflation sticky and interest rates still high, it's no surprise that big money is looking for safer or more reasonably priced opportunities overseas. Japan, surprisingly, has become something of a safe haven.
I don't know
While
about
its
that.
economy was long considered stagnant, recent reforms, coupled with stable inflation and corporate governance improvements,
I don't know about that either.
have given it a new shine. Foreign investors have now poured money into Japanese stocks for 10 consecutive weeks. Europe, too, is enjoying a moment. The continent's political and regulatory environment, while not perfect, appears far more stable than the roller coaster that is American policymaking.
This compact outdoor device protects campers from mosquitoes in just 90 seconds.
No stable than the roller coaster that is American policymaking. With governments, they're investing heavily in infrastructure, energy, and defense. Investors are starting to see the region not as a risk, but as an opportunity. What's more interesting is that foreign investors are not completely abandoning the U.S. yet. The same Bank of America report shows that while domestic investors were selling off, foreign buyers still managed to add nearly $4 billion to U.S. stocks. But that optimism was not extended to other assets. U.S. Treasuries saw an outflow that is the largest weekly exit since 2020. Even gold wasn't spared, recording its first weekly outflow since January. That suggests a broader rethinking of where to park capital safely. Investors aren't just shifting within U.S. markets, they're actively diversifying away. Europe, in particular, is reaping the benefits. In 2025 alone, more than $100 billion has flowed into European equity funds. 3 times the amount.
Boy, that's really a big, big trouble. Europe is broke too. Everybody who has money that isn't backed by gold is broke. So running to Europe, so what's happening? The financial advisors or portfolio managers or whoever the hell you're listening to with your money is simply moving it from the US to Europe, thinking those are sound. They don't understand inflation. Japan's inflation's huge. They're bankrupt. Europe is bankrupt. What the fuck are you doing? Europe's going to, I showed you the one on defense contractors, right? Where they're buying for the defense up to 5%. So they're bankrupting their own selves, buying missiles and tanks and planes. So how is Europe safe? Are you kidding? And don't tell me inflation is not huge in all these countries, because it is. It has to be. They're all doing the same formula. They're all printing the money backed by nothing. And that is huge inflation, and their dollars are all worthless. So to move it around is just a big mistake. The only chance is gold. I don't know what he's saying with gold outflows. There must be ETFs. That's not physical. There is no physical selling going on.
Seen in the same period last year. That stands in stark contrast to the US, which has seen outflows of $87 billion during that same window. It's not just the money leaving, it's the narrative changing. The idea of US exceptionalism, the belief that America's economy will always outperform, no longer holds the same weight. Now it's about who offers the most stability and long-term policy clarity. And right now, Europe and Japan seem to be winning that argument. Bank of America itself is responding to the shift. It's revamping its entire European trading infrastructure to capture this wave of capital migration. The firm's goal is to become one of the top 3 players in European markets. They're betting on more than a short-term bounce. They're preparing for a long-term reallocation of global capital away from the US and into more predictable terrain. The big question now is whether this is a temporary retreat or the beginning of a major financial realignment. Will the US government change course and restore confidence? Or are we witnessing a permanent shift in where global capital wants to be? One thing is clear. The old assumptions about America as the world's financial magnet are starting to crack. And for the first time in decades, investors are openly looking elsewhere. This is just the beginning. If you want to stay ahead of this economic shift, subscribe and hit the...
Fuck off. We know what we're doing. All right, so let's check our gold price. So gold jumped back over 33. So you can see it's all bullshit, right? Why did it go down from 33.23 to 32.90? Why? All at 10 o'clock when the new gold fix comes in. And then if it's such bad news, then why is it now at 33.07? Doesn't make sense. Silver, 36.62, has a lot of resistance at 37 because Citibank's going to lose their ass, and JP Morgan and Goldman on silver once that starts to move. And silver will go to the moon. Again, COMEX can only hold it so long before they can't. Baseball, the picks today, Toronto, 2 units. The Mets, 3 units. Detroit over 8, 2 units. Pittsburgh under 8, 2 units. Houston under 7, 2 units. Texas under 8, 2 units. Philadelphia under 8.5, 2 units. I give you 2, 4, 6, 7 games. Have to do better than yesterday, but that happens once in a while. You got to understand that. So the gold's about to go to the moon. The stock market's about to go down from the moon, and the dollar's gone. So you've got to, I sold all my stocks and emptied my bank accounts and bought gold and silver. That's what I did. I have no risk in my portfolio. It's sitting nicely in gold and silver. And as gold goes from 1,700 to 3,300, I've doubled my money with no risk. I'm going to double it again. It's going to be a little harder because 33 to 66, but it will happen and it'll go to 10. Although the money is worthless, but the gold isn't. And so it'll be the protection. Again, there's no risk in gold. It's the only thing there's no risk in. Well, in a mantle card, your house will go to zero, but get revalued in gold. Keep that in mind. So you got a $500,000 house, $500,000 401k, and you think, oh, I'm fine. You're not fine. The house will keep some value in gold, but the 401k will go to not necessarily zero, but you won't see 500,000. And what's 500,000? What's the dollar's worthless? The question is, what will it buy? What does $100 buy? And at the grocery store, nothing. That's the point. It doesn't buy anything. Things are more expensive because of the inflation of printing the money. That's the inflation. It can't be measured. So why do they measure it? So they can make it sound like it's, oh, inflation's only 2 or 3%. Well, that's bullshit. That's the biggest bullshit we have. And yet people, the government, which is always truthful, is saying it's only 3%, which it isn't. You can't measure it. It's thousands of percentage because you got to go back to 71 when a Coke was a dime and now it's 360. And gold was 35 is now 3,300. And a car was 3,500 is now 50,000. That's the inflation that they don't tell you about. Things cost more because the dollar is printed and worth less. It's not anybody jacking the price up. It is not prices that are inflation. It's the currency being printed to death, and every time they got to keep printing. You got $1 trillion due on the debt. You got defense spending. You got Social Security, Medicare. You've got the government to pay for, which they don't talk about. You got to pay all the government employees, and you have so many government employees. It's ridiculous. You can't afford them all. It's like we're running an ice cream shop, and we make $1,000 a week, and we got, we're adding employees, and now we have $2,000 in payroll, but we only make $1,000 a week. How long are we going to stay in business? And we're actually selling something that makes money. Well, here you don't. The government doesn't make a nickel. There's nothing they do that makes a nickel. Why they're into roads and bridges and education is beyond me. That's not their role. It's simple, low taxes to allow us to keep our money and keep the economy going. Free trade, because we got to need things, and the better the price, the better the trade. We need law, which I doubt we have. Stable money like gold and silver, which we don't have. That's our problem. We have bad money that is not worth anything. And then we have good communications, which we doubt we have. Is Trump really this stupid is the question. Does he not know what he's doing, or is he doing it on purpose? That is the $1 million question. Either way, we're fucked. He's killing the dollar. Does he not know he's killing it? I find it hard to believe he's this stupid. But if you ask me about Biden or Obama or Clinton, I would say, yeah, they are that stupid. Clinton's the one that caused the whole housing market by saying, well, banks, you have to lend to anybody who wants a house. No matter if they have credit or a job, you have to lend it to them. And he knew it would blow up. That's Jimmy Clinton for you. All right. I think I will leave that. So I just touched baseball. I got to enter a few more college football. Hope you're enjoying those. If you have any questions on them, let me know. They're basically just a basic introductory of what's going on now. We'll get more in depth as we find out more. The NFL draft I have to do. We'll look at the NFL once we get more data. Like now we know Aaron Rodgers will quarterback Pitt. We know Pitt just got the cornerback. We know Pitt got DK Metcalf. Now we can make a more educated move on Pitt. And the fact that Fields is the quarterback of the Jets and they're only laying 3 with Aaron Rodgers go run to the bank and go buy, take Pittsburgh minus the 3. That much I can give you. Otherwise, so we got football starting. We're in July now, so it's a month away. So I'm rereading my Gray Sports Almanac here on the football. I am busy with the BRICS. So they're clearly going gold back. They're clearly going to their own thing. So we don't have to really worry about it. We see everybody's buying gold. So the demand for gold and silver are huge. But why isn't the price going up? It will. And when it does, see, people have asked me, do I think it's going to go up a little at a time or a lot? And the more I'm hearing and the more I'm seeing, the more I think it's just going to go to $5,000. I have a feeling once it catches up, right? So it should be climbing. It should be 4,000 now, 4,500. Everybody's buying gold. Should be much higher. But since it's paper, they can kind of price fix it until everybody's bought, and then they'll let it go. So I have a feeling, just like the that one movie we were talking about, what is it? Where the one where Batman was in, The Big Short or something like that. The more like at the end, everything just fell apart. It didn't go inch by inch. They were keeping the AAA rating, or they're keeping, and then all of a sudden, boom. And I got a feeling that's what's going to happen with the stock market and gold. I think the stock market's just going to go to like 5,000, and gold's just going to be 5,000 also. They'll both be 5,000. There's a saying they're supposed to be the same value. So the stock market at 40,000 means that's where gold's supposed to be, or stock market is supposed to be 3,300. But we know gold is not 3,300. Gold is much higher based on demand and the stupid price fixing. And they're going to have to cover. They can't keep it going where they don't cover. So everybody who did this derivative today, who shorted it down from 33.30 to 3200 to 32.90, and now people are buying it back, they are going to want delivery, and you're going to have to come up with that. So I don't know how much longer this COMEX can survive. I don't think too much longer. It's July now. Basel III's gone into effect. I don't know, maybe a couple of months more, but I do think you'll see 3,500. I think now you're going to see 5,000. I think it's just going to boom, and I think the stock market's just going to boom. I don't think it's going to be 3,300, 3,400. 3,450, 35. It's not. I think it's just going to go because it's already gone. There's already all this buying, and eventually nobody's going to sell their bars this cheap. Nobody's selling at all. So again, you'll get to a free market in both stocks and gold, and it's going to be a big, huge difference. So be prepared for that. Questions, comments, anything else? Again, I'm telling you what's happening. I am not giving you an opinion. I am master's in finance and Austrian economics. So this is all, you printed the dollar to death. People are getting out of the dollar because they realize it's worthless. These are banks, central banks, and Bezos and Warren Buffett. These are guys that are richer guys, but they know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. I've already done this 5 years ago. So that's really what you need to do. And at least buy whatever you can afford, gold and silver, and just, you'll be fine. You can't lose in it. And off we go. All right. I think that's it. www.teaserking.com. That's my football moniker. And that's about it. So we'll watch some more BRICS today, but you can see everybody's very nervous about the US dollar because it's not worth anything. So understand that the more you print, the less it's worth. You can't just keep printing, as some of these idiots say, oh, we'll just keep printing money. You can't. It becomes worthless. Look at the Germans in 1923. Look at the Romans taking all the gold and silver out of their coins. You can't do it. It doesn't work. All right. With that, I leave you. Go buy your gold and silver before it's too late, and it's going to be too late soon, and I got a feeling it's going to just jump. All right. Have a nice day, everybody. Take care.